Yo, what is going on YouTube? I am Germ here. This mini offseason, it's getting really crazy. Things are heating up. There's just so many rumors going on right now. It's hard to make videos. It's hard to keep up to date. I know I was telling somebody this yesterday that like, hey, the videos are not always going to be the most up to date because I record a video, I get it ready to go, title, thumbnail, all that stuff. I'm going to put it out and then stuff changes. And then what am I supposed to do? It ends up being really complicated. So all the up to date information is going to be, out on Twitter. You guys can follow me there. Videos are still going to be discussions about stuff that's hopefully mostly up to date, maybe a little bit out of date, but this is craziness right now, and stuff changes by the minute, by the hour, by the day. But today we have a very big update for TSM that we are going to be talking about. So definitely drop a like if you guys do enjoy it. I would appreciate that a ton. Subscribe to stay up to date on all my latest content. Consider checking out the Patreon if you guys want to get early access to all my YouTube videos. As soon as I record them, that's where you can see them first, and then they'll trickle out over, to YouTube over time. With that being said, let's get right into this. So, most recently, at this point, I think what I've kind of put out about TSM is that, TSM could potentially be interested in Bo. We've heard Doinby say that Bo is supposedly coming to NA. Supposedly Maple's coming to NA. Maybe that means Maple to TSM. Maybe that means Bo to TSM. Maybe both. Does that mean that Spica's out? If Spica's out, where would he go? Is Spica going to re-sign with TSM? Is he not going to re-sign with TSM? Is TSM going to risk, Spica leaving as a free agent for free? Because there are rumors that there's definitely going to be teams interested in Spica this offseason, like maybe even Team Liquid or something like that. But that gets us to today, where we got a pretty big update to this whole situation. We got this from LCS Eevee. He tweeted out, LS on FaceCheck said that rumored player Bo is not joining TSM and that TSM is looking for Korean players. Now, we will go over that clip in a second, but this is really interesting, obviously, for Eevee to tweet out, and this isn't exactly what LS said. This tweet from Eevee would make it seem like, hey, he's not going to TSM. Maybe that meant he was never going to TSM. Maybe that means TSM never even talked to him. Maybe it means they talked to him and it didn't work out. Who knows? This isn't really clear. But either way, kind of interesting. And then does this mean that, TSM is going to be going for Spica? Does this mean that TSM maybe is going to look at a Korean jungler to replace Spica instead of Bo? Does this mean that Bo is still coming to NA? Does this mean that he's not coming to NA anymore? With each new piece of information we get, one door closes and 10 more doors open up, and we really don't know. But again, I do think we're going to be getting a ton of official answers, hopefully over the next couple of weeks. But with just so much speculation and so many rumors and stuff going on, it starts to get really crazy. But here is the actual clip, and this clip paints a little bit different of a picture, and even the title, TSM Bo fell through. Team is looking for Korean players. Again, saying that TSM Bo fell through would imply a couple things, but we'll talk about that in a second. First, let's let LS talk. Let's see what he has to say.
TSM, right? Isn't Bo supposed to go? Or no, Bo fell through apparently.
Yeah, based on the message that I got earlier today, I don't think that there's any chance that Bo is joining, or Bo is not set to join any team right now. I'll say that.
Yeah. Bo I do not believe is joining TSM, and I think that TSM are looking for Korean players.
Well, the LPL thing
leaked.
LPL thing did not work. Unlucky.
Unlucky. I would say it seemed like their plug for the LPL players was Peter Zhang, who's now gone. So it doesn't seem like you should continue down that path if the infrastructure's not there. To continue with that. So maybe a good change here for
Now, I would argue that, they're saying like, oh, it looks like the LPL stuff failed. Oh, if Peter Zhang's gone, I wouldn't continue down this path. Now, I would argue, hey, TSM just finished last place. Maybe that's why you shouldn't continue down this path. Maybe the LPL was already a failure before Peter Zhang left, before TSM decided any of this. Maybe it was never even the right decision to go in the first place. And that's kind of a point I want to make really quick before we get back to the other stuff is like, I thought there was a ton of risk going with, Chinese players in the first place. Thought there was a ton of risk going with young Chinese players and saying you're going to develop some 3-year plan with them because of something like this. Like, if the team sucks, if you are really going to develop, are you going to get young Chinese imports to stay on a team that is not very good for 3 years or something. That can be very, very difficult. But also just the idea of going full LPL in the first place. Like if we look back to the past couple of years, and Chinese teams have started to do really, really well internationally, and that's why more and more people, have been talking about playing that LPL style and getting Chinese players and all this stuff. But like personally, I still really believe in a lot of ways Korean players are still the kings of League of Legends. If we look at 2019, Fun plus Phoenix, Doinb and Gimgoon, 2 Korean solo laners. Now, yes, they did have 3 Chinese players, but still, they have 2 Korean solo laners. And then in the top 4 at Worlds, you have 2 more Korean solo laners, and then you have obviously a team of full Koreans. Yes, a lot of Chinese players, but a lot of Korean players here too. Even on the Chinese teams, Korean players are still making a big, big, big difference. It's not like China is going full Chinese players. Then, we have Damwon, obviously winning it all in 2020. Now, much less Korean players going on here. You have G2, obviously. You have Top. A lot more Chinese players, but still not, entirely Chinese. Then, again, once you have another, then we had, I wanted to even go one more year back. IG in 2018, they had the Shine rookie, obviously 2 Korean players. And then here you have C9 and G2, and Fnatic being the top 4, which was just a really, really crazy year, obviously. But yeah, not as many Chinese players dominating that. And then in 2021, again, even though you have EDG winning, you have Scout and Viper, and then the rest is just all Korean players outside of the 3 Chinese players. So, I never really thought it made too much sense to go the Chinese route over the Korean route. So if TSM, like LSS, is truly looking at Korean players now, whether that be young Korean players, whether that be, maybe a little bit more veteran Korean players, I think that always made more sense. I still think that European players make more sense than Chinese players. I think Korean players make more sense than Chinese players. So I always thought it was weird that TSM kind of went all in that direction. But yes, it was clearly a failure in so many different ways. Now, yes, they can claim it's supposed to be a 3-year plan, so you can't judge it after a split or whatever. But getting back to this point, LS says that TSM Bo fell through. That would imply that 1, there were really talks with TSM and Bo. 2, that they were potentially close to getting a deal done. And that 3, if they were actually talking to Bo, that means there is a world where they were willing to move on from Spica. Now, is that because Spica wants to move on from them? Is that because they want to move on from Spica? Is that just because they thought Bo was so good? Why did this deal fall through? I don't exactly know. Dominate says that at this point it seems like Bo is not lined up to be joining any team. That doesn't mean that he's not still talking to teams. That doesn't mean that he can't still join a team before summer. But again, Doinb said that Maple and Bo were going to be headed to North America. And now all of a sudden, is Maple actually coming here? Is he going to Dignitas? Is he going to TSM? Is Bo coming to NA at all? Is he not coming here? Who knows? But it does kind of put more into perspective that if this is correct, LS is not exact. I mean, LS obviously has a ton of sources. He obviously talks to a million people, Dominate, all these guys. They have sources. They've been wrong about stuff before. They've been right about a lot of stuff before. Who knows? But at least from what they're saying, it shows maybe a little bit about the relationship between TSM and Spica right now, which again, I think makes sense. Spica didn't sign an extension in the offseason. I don't think anything in the spring split happened that would make Spica more likely to re-sign with TSM, and then he's supposed to be a free agent in the offseason. And if you're TSM, I think it is absolutely idiotic, insane, foolish to risk Spica leaving for free, especially when most likely you are not going to have a good team in the summer split. Like, oh, we ended the spring split strong. Like, okay, so we won like 5 games or whatever. Okay, still, you have so many hurdles to overcome to become a top 3 team in summer. And if you don't, what's the difference between 4th and 10th if nobody ends up going to Worlds and no one's going to remember or care at the end of the day whether you finish 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, whatever, and then have Spica potentially leave for free. Even if Spica goes somewhere else for one split, he can still come back to you. You can still make him an offer this offseason. You can still make a pitch to him this offseason. But to keep Spica around on a team that is probably going to flounder and then potentially have him leave this offseason would just be absolutely horrible management. Like, almost objectively, you almost cannot defend that decision. Spica either needs to sign an extension or TSM needs to move on from him, even if it's for potentially a weaker jungler in the meantime. Whatever, figure that out next offseason. This season is largely has already been a massive failure and mess and everything for TSM. But yeah, I don't know. I just thought that this was obviously very, very interesting. As far as other things going on with TSM, I know there has been, okay, say they're going to go Korean players. What does that even mean? Are you going to be able to find good Korean players in between spring and summer? Does this mean maybe they're just kind of pivoting to Korean players for next year and they're going to try and make do for this year? I don't know, but we also had LEC Wooloo saying, if you are the new TSM mid laner, please DM me. That obviously leads us to believe that TSM is at least going to be making a change in the mid lane. Is that going to be Jensen? Is that going to be a Korean mid laner? Is that going to be a Chinese mid laner? Who knows at this point? But it does seem like, at least according to what we're hearing now, potentially the TSM Bo stuff fell through. TSM is maybe looking at Korean players, maybe for summer split, maybe for 2023. And that TSM may as well have a new mid laner coming in. But again, we still have no idea. We still don't know what's going on. But this is the latest one to get it out to you guys. Definitely drop a like if you did enjoy it. I would appreciate that so much. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think TSM should do, what they're going to do. I don't know. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions. Subscribe, stay up to date on all my latest content. Consider checking out the Patreon. First link in the description below. Hopefully catch you guys in the next one. But until then, peace.